My brothers and sisters in Christ, in today's gospel we hear the famous John 3:16 passage and the reminder of the great love with which God sent his Son into the world for us. But this passage ultimately represents great hope while also looking at the theme of judgment. The passage makes very clear that God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world. And yet the passage goes on to talk about how condemnation happens. In the light of the Easter joy we're celebrating, it's worth looking at once again the nature of God's judgment. So often in a fire and brimstone way, we can think of God's judgment in a sense, God looking to find us in our wrongdoing, God waiting to smite us down for our wrongdoing to destroy us. And in fact, the light of the gospel tells us this is not the nature of God. God is seeking that all his children live. God does not seek the destruction of anyone. And in fact, when he sends his Son, because at times we hear, well, he hasn't come to judge, but in other places we hear he is the judge. Well, is this a contradiction? Is this inconsistent? What is the nature of God's judgment? Ultimately, the judgment is one of our own in the light of Christ. It is the Word itself which judges us. How so? That is that through the revelation of Jesus Christ, so God is made known to his people. Jesus, and that's why we say that he is the sacrament of the Father, that Christ comes to make the Father known. And so the truth of God's love is made manifest. Everything is revealed. After the encounter with Jesus, there is no longer any way of saying, I don't understand, I don't know. The truth is laid bare, and so the onus is put on us to make a choice. Do we accept the love and mercy of God, or do we turn away from it? The condemnation comes if we turn away from it. Then it's not so much God seeking out to destroy us as us rejecting of our own free will to be one with God. We can reject his mercy. We can reject his love. As much as he desires us to be with him, he leaves it because we can't have true love without the free will to choose. As I say, compelled love is not love. And so, for there to be love, we have to have the freedom to refuse it. And sadly, some do. This is the nature of judgment and condemnation, not the hunting down to judge, but that the bright light of Christ creates a shadow of those who turn away from it. If we prefer the shadow, then it's because we've turned our back to the light. If you think of your own, when you stand in the sunlight with your back to it and you see your own shadow on the ground. If we prefer looking into the shadow, it's because we've turned away from the light. That's our own judgment. And so Christ, by his very presence, brings about a judgment. But the judgment is one of our choosing. So we need to remember, Christ does not come into the world to condemn it. Christ comes to reveal the true nature of God's love, which is beyond measure, beyond our comprehension, beyond any limit we can know. His mercy endures forever, and he seeks that all of his children may be one in him. Therefore, let us not stand judged by our stubborn refusal of his mercy or our own self-made condemnation, but may we choose life in Christ. May we rejoice in the fact that by the empty tomb, we are now risen. In our baptism, we are risen. We were baptized, buried into death with Jesus, and rose from the water to new life. The path to heaven is made available to us through the cross, and now we must just follow. May God bless you all.